There are moments in a woman's life when the world looks at her and decides what she can and cannot become. Moments where society draws lines around her dreams, telling her what is possible and what is not meant for her. And for years she listens, quietly, patiently, believing that maybe they are right. But deep inside her heart lives a whisper, soft yet powerful, a voice she never fully understood, a voice that kept telling her she was made for more. This is the story of that voice, the story of a woman who refused to break, even when life gave her every reason to. Her name was Ira. She wasn't born strong, she wasn't born confident, she wasn't even born with a roadmap to success. She was just a girl who believed in kindness, but the world was not always kind to her. A girl who believed in honesty, but the world lied to her more times than she could count. A girl who believed that hard work always wins, but life kept proving her wrong again and again. Yet she carried something rare, something the world could not take away: persistence. Growing up, Ira learned early that dreams come with a price. She had seen her mother sacrifice her joy to raise her. She had seen her father fight battles the world never saw. And somewhere between all of it, she promised herself, "One day I will rise, not just for me, but for every silent dream inside this home." Years passed, and responsibilities grew heavier on her small shoulders. She studied with an old lamp in a room too small for her dreams. She worked through exhaustion, through doubt, through the noise of people saying, "You can't," but she kept going, not because she was fearless, but because she was tired of living in fear. Every night, she whispered to herself, "One day, these struggles will become my strength." But life wasn't done testing her. When she stepped into her early 20s, Era faced a storm she never expected. Failures came like waves, relentless and cold. The job she dreamed of slipped from her hands. The people she trusted disappeared. And the world, once again, looked at her with doubt. She felt the weight of being a woman in a world that constantly questioned her worth. She felt the pressure of expectations she didn't ask for, and she felt the pain of being underestimated, not once, not twice, but countless times. There were nights she cried silently, careful not to let anyone hear. She didn't want sympathy. She wanted strength. She didn't want rescue. She wanted courage. And yet, something broke inside her. Not her spirit, but her patience. She realized she had spent too many years waiting for life to get easier. Too many years hoping someone would see her potential. Too many years trying to prove herself to people who never truly mattered. That night, she looked at herself in the mirror, eyes swollen, heart heavy, and said words she had never said before. "I will not spend my life apologizing for being strong." That moment changed everything, because that night, she didn't ask for strength. She became strength. She didn't wait for opportunity. She started creating it. She didn't try to fit in. She began to rise above. She woke up the next morning with a calm determination, the kind that grows from surviving storms no one knows about. She didn't shout her goals. She didn't announce her plans. She simply started working, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. She learned new skills, stayed awake when others slept, and practiced until her hands hurt and her mind burned. She let go of toxic opinions. She distanced herself from negativity. She refused to be distracted by people who only wanted her small. She became her own motivation. But the transformation wasn't sudden. It was slow, painful, but beautifully powerful. Every failure began teaching her something. Every hardship shaped her into someone wiser. Every setback sharpened her like a blade. And one day, she realized something extraordinary. She was no longer the girl who doubted herself. She had become a woman the world couldn't ignore. People who once looked down on her now wondered how she rose so high. People who doubted her now used her journey as an example. And people who discouraged her now repeated her words as motivation. But Ira never looked back to prove them wrong. She looked forward to prove herself right. because she finally understood the secret of strong women. They don't rise to impress the world. They rise because staying on the ground hurts more. She learned that her voice mattered, her dreams mattered, her strength mattered, and she mattered. Today, when she speaks, her voice no longer shakes. It flows with the calm confidence of someone who has walked through fire and returned with light. She stands tall, not because life became easier, but because she became harder to break. And this is only the beginning of her story, because a woman doesn't become unstoppable when she wins. She becomes unstoppable the day the era's rise didn't happen overnight. Strength doesn't come in a moment. It grows through thousands of silent battles that no one sees. And while the world believed she was becoming stronger, she knew the truth. She wasn't becoming stronger. She was becoming herself, the woman she was always meant to be. After the night she promised to stop apologizing for her strength, her life silently shifted. She no longer sought approval. She no longer waited for validation. She no longer feared the opinions that once controlled her. Instead, she began listening to the voice she had ignored for years, her own. And that voice whispered to her every morning, "You deserve a life you're proud of." So she began rebuilding, not from scratch, but from truth. The truth that she was capable, the truth that she was worthy, the truth that she was meant for more than struggle. But rebuilding was not easy, because the moment you begin to rise, life tests your resolve even harder. Ira soon faced challenges she had never imagined. Financial pressures tightened around her like chains. Workload doubled, responsibilities multiplied, her body tired, her heart shook. And for a moment she feared she might fall back into the old cycle, the cycle of giving up before she could see the result of her efforts. But then she remembered the girl who used to cry alone in her room, the girl who wished for strength, the girl who prayed for courage, the girl who promised her parents she would change the future. And she whispered to herself, "I can't betray that girl, not now, not ever." So she pushed through the exhaustion. She worked when her hands trembled. She learned even when her mind felt overwhelmed. She sacrificed comfort for growth. She traded fear for discipline. Days turned into months. Months turned into a quiet transformation. At first, no one noticed. People rarely noticed the beginning of a miracle, but slowly the results began to speak louder than her silence. She started excelling in her work. She built skills she once thought were impossible for her. Doors that had been closed for years began to open, and opportunities she had only dreamed of began coming her way. But what surprised her the most wasn't the success. It was the woman she was becoming. She no longer walked with doubt. She walked with purpose. She no longer feared the unknown. She embraced it. She no longer hid her voice. She used it. Her confidence was not loud. It was not arrogant. It was calm, soft, grounded, the kind of confidence born from surviving storms. One afternoon, Ira stood on the balcony of her small apartment, watching the city she had once felt lost in. She remembered the days she walked these streets feeling invisible. She remembered the moments she questioned whether her life had meaning. She remembered the times she felt she wasn't enough. But as she looked at the skyline, she felt something she had never felt before: belonging. She no longer felt like she was trying to fit into the world. She felt like she had finally created a place for herself. Yet, the journey wasn't just about professional success. It was also about healing the wounds she had carried for so long. Ira began confronting the emotional shadows she had ignored for years, the betrayal she never allowed herself to feel, the heartbreak she hid behind a smile, the loneliness she masked with strength, the pain she buried so deep she almost forgot it existed. Sitting in silence, she let herself feel everything she had run away from. And surprisingly, it didn't break her. It cleansed her. It freed her. It made her lighter. She realized that true strength wasn't pretending she was fine. True strength was allowing herself to feel, to heal, and to grow beyond what hurt her. For the first time in her life, Era began loving herself, not for what she accomplished, but for who she was becoming. A woman with a soft heart and a strong mind. A woman who carried pain but didn't allow it to define her. A woman who had learned to stand alone and still be complete. A woman who wasn't afraid to dream anymore. Slowly, her life transformed more beautifully than she expected. Her work flourished. Her financial struggles faded. Her voice reached people she had never met. And the same world that once doubted her now admired her strength. But she remained humble because she knew where she came from. She remembered the nights she begged for strength. She remembered the mornings she fought tears. She remembered the moments she almost gave up. Era no longer chased success just to prove herself. She pursued growth because she had discovered who she truly was. And one day, she stood before a small audience, invited to share her journey. Something she never thought possible. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from emotion, because she realized she was no longer the girl who felt small. She was a woman the world could not break. And as she began speaking, 8J